Overthinking is destroying your peace. It's stealing your sleep, your confidence, and your ability to act. And you know it. You replay the same moments. You fear mistakes that don't exist. You drown in thoughts that never lead anywhere. But today, that ends. This audiobook gives you 7 steps to break the cycle and take back control of your mind. No more spirals. No more hesitation. No more fear running your life. You have a choice. And this is the moment you take your power back. Chapter 1. Stop letting your mind attack you. Your mind is loud. Your mind is busy. Your mind is convincing. And when you don't control it, it becomes your attacker. It becomes the bully that lives inside your own head. It exaggerates fear. It repeats doubt. It creates problems that don't exist. And worst of all, it blocks action. Every time you overthink, you're handing your power away. Every time you overthink, you're shrinking yourself. Every time you overthink, you're letting your mind run the show. You don't have to live like this. You have a choice. That's the key. Overthinking doesn't make you smarter. It doesn't protect you. It doesn't solve anything. Overthinking keeps you stuck. It keeps you afraid. It keeps you living in problems that never happened. Think about what overthinking actually feels like. You replay old conversations. You imagine the worst possible outcome. You assume people are judging you. You take one small worry and stretch it into a massive disaster. That's not clarity. That's not caution. That's fear pretending to be logic. Your mind is attacking you, and you don't even realize it. Let's take a common example. You text someone. They don't reply. What happens next? Your mind jumps in and starts its attack. They're annoyed with you. You said something wrong. You look desperate. They're done with you. Your mind fills the silence with fear. But here's the truth. Nothing actually happened. There is no proof of any problem. You created the entire story in your head. That's what overthinking does. It creates fear without evidence. And here's the part you must understand. You have a choice. You can follow the fear, or you can reject it. That's the key. Another example. You walk away from a conversation, and suddenly you're thinking, I shouldn't have said that. Why did I sound like that? They think I'm weird. I embarrassed myself. You replay it again and again like a movie you hate but keep watching. That is your mind attacking you. That is your mind bullying you into shame. That is your mind turning one moment into hours of anxiety. But remember, you have a choice. Overthinking is not a personality trait. It's a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. You don't need their permission to stop. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You don't need someone to guide your hand. You just need discipline. It's not about your fear. It's about discipline. It's not about being perfect. It's about control. It's not about stopping every thought. It's about refusing to let thoughts run your life. So how do you stop letting your mind attack you? You learn to create distance. Distance is your power. Distance is your protection. Distance is the way out. The first step is simple. Name the thought. When a worrying thought hits you, don't merge with it. Don't accept it as truth. Don't drown in it. Instead, call it what it is. Say, that's an anxious thought. Say, that's fear talking. Say, that's the overthinking pattern again. When you name a thought, you separate yourself from it. You stop being inside the thought, and you start observing it. That small space is where power begins. You're not your fear. You're not your doubts. You're not the voice that attacks you. You are the one who hears it. You are the one who can refuse it. You have a choice. The second step, refuse the reaction. Your mind wants you to spiral. It wants to drag you into the loop. It wants you to chase the thought, analyze it, argue with it, and obsess over it. That reaction feeds the fear. If you refuse the reaction, the thought loses power. Say, I'm not following that. I'm not feeding that story. I'm not spending energy on this. The thought will come, but you decide whether it grows or dies. That's discipline. That's the key. The third step, reclaim control through action. This is where change happens. This is where overthinking loses its grip. When you shift your attention to action, the mind loses its hold. Action interrupts fear. Action breaks rumination. Action returns control to you. Do something physical. Do something simple. Do something productive. Move your focus from the imaginary to the real. Let's walk through a real scenario. You have something important to do, a job application, a phone call, a conversation you've been delaying. Overthinking jumps in and tries to stop you. What if it goes wrong? What if I embarrass myself? What if I fail? Those questions are traps. They're designed to freeze you. They're designed to keep you small. But you have a choice. Name the thought, this is fear talking. Refuse the reaction, I'm not feeding this. Take action, I'm doing it anyway. That's discipline. That's control. Your mind attacks you because you've trained it to. You've fed fear with attention. You've repeated the same loops. You've allowed your brain to run wild. But the moment you start interrupting the cycle, the attack weakens. You build mental strength every time you stand up to a fear-based thought. Another example, imagining disaster. Maybe you get a message from your boss. Can we talk tomorrow? That's it. That's the whole message. But your mind creates a full catastrophe. I'm in trouble. I messed something up. I'm getting fired. Your heart races. You can't focus. You panic over something that may not even be real. That is the mind bully pulling your strings. You have a choice. Step back. Name it, catastrophizing. Refuse it, I'm not assuming the worst. Take action, I'll deal with reality when reality arrives. This is mature thinking. This is disciplined thinking. This is controlled thinking. Your mind can only attack you if you sit still and let it. Overthinking wins when you stay passive. It wins when you stay quiet. It wins when you let your imagination torture you. But once you respond with clarity and action, the entire dynamic changes. You have a choice. And that phrase should follow you through your entire life. You are not forced to believe everything your mind says. You are not required to chase every fear. You are not obligated to obey every anxious thought. Your mind is loud, yes. But you decide who is in charge. Every time you name the thought, you gain distance. Every time you refuse the reaction, you build strength. Every time you take action, you reclaim your life. This is how you stop the attacks. This is how you break the cycle. This is how you take your mind back. You've started with the inner war. Now it's time to go deeper. If you can stop the attack from within, you can stop the attack from the world around you. You've begun gaining control. Now let's talk about where that control leads. Chapter 2. Overthinking is a decision, not a condition. Overthinking feels automatic, but it isn't. It feels like something that happens to you, but it isn't. Overthinking is a habit you built through hesitation, fear, and the constant belief that you need more certainty before you move. Overthinking is a decision. A repeated one. A rehearsed one. A choice you make every time you pause instead of act. Most people don't like hearing this, because it destroys the excuse they've been hiding behind. It forces them to admit that they're not powerless. And when you're not powerless, you're responsible. That's the key. You have a choice. You've always had a choice. The problem is you've been choosing the wrong thing over and over again and calling it just how your mind works. Let's be direct. Your mind works the way you train it. If you feed it hesitation, it becomes hesitant. If you feed it fear, it becomes fearful. If you feed it doubt, it becomes doubtful. You built the habit of overthinking through years of stopping yourself at the edge of action and saying, "Let me think about it." You didn't need more thinking. You needed more doing. Imagine someone who wants to start a business. They have an idea. They even have basic steps they could take today. But instead of moving, they pause. They check for the 10th time if the market is ready. They ask 2 more friends for opinions. They rewrite the same plan over and over again. And what do they tell themselves? I'm being careful. No. They're choosing uncertainty. They're choosing fear. That person isn't stuck. That person is deciding not to move. Or think about the person who wants to send a message. Maybe to ask for help. Maybe to make an apology. Maybe to set a boundary. They type the message. They read it. They edit it. They delete it. They write it again. They hold their finger over the send button, but they don't press it. And what do they tell themselves? I'll send it when I'm sure it sounds right. But the truth is simple. They're choosing to stay silent. They're choosing to wait. They're choosing to overthink. This is the part people don't want to admit. Overthinking is not a condition. It's not a disorder. It's not an unstoppable force. It's a choice. And when you see it as a choice, you can stop it. That line matters. Hear it again. This is a choice. And when you see it as a choice, you can stop it. The real problem is not your mind. The real problem is your discipline. You don't need treatment for overthinking. You need discipline to stop feeding it. It's not about being broken. It's about taking control. It's not about your flaws. It's about your choices. It's not about your anxiety. It's about your discipline. You have trained yourself to believe that thinking more equals being more prepared. But thinking more rarely gives you more clarity. Thinking more usually gives you more fear, more hesitation, more stories about why you should stay exactly where you are. That is why overthinking feels heavy. You are carrying thoughts you don't need. You are carrying scenarios that will never happen. You are carrying fear you choose to keep repeating. You have a choice. You always do. And here's the truth the world doesn't tell you. Action creates clarity. Thinking does not. Action exposes reality. Thinking only exposes imagination. Action builds confidence. Thinking builds doubts. You don't need their permission. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need perfect certainty. You need to act while you're unsure. That single skill separates the ones who move forward from the ones who stay stuck for years. Let's break it down into real instructions, because this chapter is not here to entertain you. It's here to change you. Instruction 1. Stop waiting for confidence. Confidence comes from action. Every time you choose to act instead of think, you strengthen your mind. Every time you choose thinking over action, you weaken it. You're not confused. You're avoiding discomfort. And avoiding discomfort is a choice. Instruction 2. Give yourself deadlines. Not 1-year deadlines. Not 30-day deadlines. Small, immediate deadlines. 3 minutes. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. You decide when the thinking stops. You decide when the action starts. That's the key. When the deadline hits, you act, no matter how you feel. Instruction 3. Remove extra options. Overthinking grows in clutter. Too many choices. Too many opinions. Too many mental tabs open. Make decisions easier by limiting options. 2 paths. Not 10. 1 solution. Not 5. When you make your world simpler, your mind becomes stronger. Instruction 4. Practice fast action in small things. Send the message. Make the call. Tidy the room. Complete the task. Build the muscle of quick execution. Overthinking dies when action becomes automatic. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the right moment. Train the discipline today. Instruction 5. Catch the pause. You know the pause. The moment right before you act. The moment when fear shows up. The moment where the mind starts whispering, think about it again. That moment is the fork in the road. That is the exact point where you either build discipline or weaken it. When you feel that pause, move. Don't negotiate. Don't rethink. Move. Because every time you move, you break the overthinking pattern. Look at your life honestly. How many opportunities did you lose because you paused? How many ideas died because you waited too long? How many times did you stop yourself from speaking, from applying, from leaving, from starting? You didn't lose those things by accident. You lost them by choice. This is the hard truth. Overthinking is not harmless. It has a cost. A high one. It costs time. It costs confidence. It costs growth. It costs self-respect. Every time you choose fear over action, you're teaching yourself that you can't trust your own decisions. You weaken your own identity. But every time you choose action over fear, even in small ways, you rebuild yourself. You prove that you can act without waiting for permission. This is a choice. And when you see it as a choice, you can stop it. You don't need to fix your mind. You need to fix your habits. You don't need to erase your thoughts. You need to stop giving them so much power. You don't need perfect clarity. You need forward motion. Overthinking is not about intelligence. It's about discipline. Your discipline decides whether your mind controls you or you control your mind. Remember, you have a choice. Every moment. Every day. And the moment you claim that choice, you break the cycle. You are no longer the person who sits in the shadows waiting for certainty. You are the person who steps forward even when you feel unsure. That's the real shift. That's the transformation. That's the key. And now that you understand the truth about overthinking, it's time to deal with the next enemy, the one that ruins your focus, destroys your peace, and steals your potential long before fear even shows up. Chapter 3. Kill the what-if cycle before it grows. The what-if cycle is the factory that manufactures your fear. It takes nothing and turns it into something. It takes a simple thought and turns it into a disaster. It takes a moment of opportunity and turns it into a warning sign. That's why it's so dangerous. It grows fast. It spreads fast. And if you don't shut it down early, it will run your entire life. You've done it. We all have. You have a chance to start something, and your mind whispers, "What if I fail?" You want to meet someone new, and your mind says, "What if they judge me?" You want to make a move, take a risk, try a different path, and suddenly your mind is filled with 10, 20, 50 imaginary disasters that don't exist. This is how fear grows. Not from reality, but from imagination. Not from facts, but from stories you create in your head. The what-if cycle is built on one thing: fear without evidence. And here's the hard truth: you've been feeding it. You keep giving it attention. You keep giving it energy. You keep treating your fears like facts. That stops now. From this chapter on, you start treating every what-if like what it really is: a question with no proof. A fear with no weight. A shadow with no body. The what-if cycle is only strong because you never challenge it. You accept it as truth the moment it shows up. But you have a choice. You always have a choice. And when you understand that choice, you take back control of your mind. Here's how the cycle works. One thought leads to another. Then another. Then another. It snowballs. What if I fail? Becomes what if I lose everything? What if they laugh at me? Becomes what if everyone rejects me? What if this goes wrong? Becomes what if my whole life falls apart? Do you see it? One seed becomes a forest. One spark becomes a fire. And you are the one holding the match. You must kill the what-if cycle before it grows. You do that with one simple, powerful question: is this real? Where is the evidence? Say it out loud if you must. Write it down if you must. But ask it every time. Because fear hates evidence. Fear cannot survive facts. Fear collapses when you shine light on it. Take the common fear: what if I fail? Ask yourself, is this real? Where is the evidence? Not imagined evidence. Actual proof. What do you find? Nothing. The fear is predicting a future that hasn't happened. It is inventing a failure that doesn't exist. Take another fear: what if they judge me? You ask again, is this real? Where is the evidence? You'll see that nobody has judged you, nobody has said anything, and nobody is thinking about you as much as your mind assumes. The fear is fiction. Think about, what if I lose everything? Ask the same question. Is it real? Where is the evidence? You'll notice that your life hasn't collapsed. You're breathing. You're here. You're thinking clearly enough to listen to this chapter. That fear is a story, not a fact. This is how you break the cycle. You confront every what-if with reality. You challenge every fear with truth. You train your mind to stop jumping to the worst-case scenario. You stop reacting to ghosts. Because here's the real message: it's not about fear. It's about discipline. Fear will show up. That's normal. But discipline? Discipline decides what happens next. Discipline decides whether the fear dies or grows. Discipline decides whether the what-if becomes a wall or becomes a doorway. People think they need courage to kill the what-if cycle. They don't. Courage comes later. The first thing you need is honesty. Brutal honesty. You must look at every fear and ask, does this exist right now? If it doesn't, drop it. Move forward. That's the key. Let's make this practical. You need steps. You need instructions. You need a formula that you can use every single time the cycle begins. Instruction 1. Catch the first what if. Not the 10th. Not the 50th. The first. The moment the thought appears, stop it. This is where discipline matters. You must be faster than the cycle. The longer you let it grow, the harder it is to kill. Instruction 2. Ask the 2 questions immediately. Say them clearly. Is this real? Where is the evidence? Do not skip them. Do not rush them. These questions are the blade that cuts the cycle at the root. Instruction 3. List facts, not feelings. Your fear is fueled by feelings, not facts. You must flip the script. Write down what is real. What is proven? What is actually happening? Facts calm the mind. Fear hates facts. Instruction 4. Replace the what if with a I will. What if this goes wrong? Becomes, I will handle whatever happens. What if I fail? Becomes, I will learn and adjust. What if they judge me? Becomes, I will act anyway. This is how you retrain your brain. You replace fear with responsibility. Responsibility is power. Instruction 5. Take one small action within 60 seconds. This step is non-negotiable. Action kills anxiety. Action breaks cycles. Action builds evidence that you can trust yourself. The worst thing you can do is think more. Move. Do something. Send the message. Open the file. Take the step. Build the habit. Because remember, it's not about fear. It's about discipline. Your fear will talk. Your fear will argue. Your fear will create 100 imaginary outcomes. But your discipline decides which voice wins. You always have a choice. And your choice shapes your life. Look back at your past. Think about how many opportunities you lost because of what-if thinking. Not because of real danger. Not because of real problems. But because of imaginary outcomes that never happened. You didn't lose because life attacked you. You lost because you attacked yourself with your own thoughts. But now you know the truth. And truth gives you power. The what-if cycle is not stronger than you. It's only stronger than your discipline. And discipline is something you can build. Something you can grow. Something you can train. You don't need to eliminate fear. You need to stop feeding it. The next time your mind whispers, what if this goes wrong? You answer, is this real? Where is the evidence? And when you find none, and you will find none, you move. You act. You choose discipline over fear. That is how you kill the cycle. That is how you reclaim your mind. That is how you build a life rooted in reality, not imagination. And once you take control of your thinking, the next step is taking control of your time, because nothing destroys potential faster than wasted hours disguised as rest or planning. Chapter 4. Action breaks anxiety every time. An anxious mind is a busy mind. It spins. It circles. It repeats the same fears again and again until you feel stuck. But here's the truth most people never learn. Your mind cannot spin in circles and move forward at the same time. When you start acting, the loop breaks. When you step forward, even a little, the fear loses its grip. Action is the interruption. Action is the switch. Action is the tool you've been avoiding because you've been waiting to feel ready. But ready is not coming. Move first. Think later. That's the key. You've been trained to believe that thinking more will solve everything. That the answer is hidden in another hour of worry. That another round of figuring it out will finally give you peace. But thinking without movement does not create peace. It creates pressure. It creates confusion. It creates stress. The more you sit still, the louder the noise becomes. Anxiety grows in stillness. Anxiety loves hesitation. Anxiety feeds on the space between intention and action. But the moment you start moving, even in a small way, the spell breaks. The loop weakens. The fear softens. You feel different because you are doing something different. And you have a choice. Every single time you feel yourself sinking into that old mental pattern, You can break it with action. Think about the last time you were anxious. Your heart was racing. Your mind was jumping from fear to fear. You kept imagining everything that could go wrong. You tried to think your way into calm. But thinking didn't help, did it? You stayed in the same chair, in the same room, with the same thoughts. And because nothing changed, nothing calmed down. Because the mind only relaxes when the body leads. Move first. Think later. That's the key. Most people never take the first step. They pause. They hesitate. They wait too long. They say, I'll start when I feel motivated. I'll start when I'm less stressed. I'll start when the timing is right. But here is the truth they don't want to face. Waiting is the problem. Waiting is the trap. Waiting is the fuel of anxiety. And you have a choice. You can let hesitation control your life, or you can cut hesitation at the source. Here's the simplest tool you will ever learn, the 3-second rule. You feel the urge. You feel the idea. You feel the need to act. You have 3 seconds. 3 seconds to move before your mind kills the moment. 3 seconds before fear steps in. 3 seconds before the old pattern starts again. If you don't move within 3 seconds, your brain will talk you out of it. It will say, not now. Later. Maybe tomorrow. What if it goes wrong? That is the exact moment anxiety wins. That is the moment the spiral begins. That is where fear grows. So you move. Not later. Not after you think about it. Not after you calculate every possible outcome. You move now. You don't need their permission. You don't need perfection. You don't need to feel strong. You just move. Move first. Think later. That's the key. Let's look at real examples so you can see how powerful this is. You need to send an important message, but you overthink it. You type. You erase. You rewrite. You hesitate. Anxiety grows. The mind spins. But when you hit send without thinking for too long, what happens? The fear collapses. The tension drops. Action breaks anxiety. Another example, you know you need to clean your space. But you sit on the bed scrolling your phone. You keep saying, I'll start in a minute. You don't start. The room feels heavier. Your mind feels cloudier. But the moment you stand up and pick up one item, things shift. The pressure weakens. Your mind clears a little. That small action breaks the wall of mental noise. One more example, you need to work out, but you don't feel like it. The more you sit around thinking about it, the worse you feel. But the moment you put on your shoes and walk out the door, the mental storm begins to calm. Why? Because action pulls you back into the present. The mind cannot panic when the body is moving with purpose. That is the power you've ignored. That is the choice you've always had. You have been living under the lie that anxiety controls you. It doesn't. Anxiety is loud, but it's not in charge. Hesitation is what gives it strength. And discipline is what takes that strength back. Discipline is movement. Discipline is doing the thing even when you don't feel ready. Discipline is the antidote to fear. It's not about feeling brave. It's about discipline. You think you need to calm down before you take action. But that's backwards. You calm down after you take action. The peace comes from the doing. The relief comes from the movement. The confidence comes from the step you were afraid to take. Every time you delay, the anxiety grows. Every time you move, the anxiety shrinks. You have a choice. And here is a rule that will change everything. Action first. Emotion second. Emotion follows action, not the other way around. If you wait for the right emotion, you will wait forever. Move first. Think later. That's the key. Start using the 3-second rule immediately. You wake up and don't want to get out of bed? Move within 3 seconds. You need to send an email and feel a wave of doubt? Send it within 3 seconds. You need to speak up in a meeting? Voice your opinion within 3 seconds. You need to start a task? Begin within 3 seconds. This simple discipline will break the habits that have controlled you for years. The more you act, the less you fear. The more you move, the quieter your mind becomes. Overthinking cannot survive movement. Anxiety cannot survive momentum. Fear cannot survive action. You have a choice. Use your body as the tool that resets your mind. Stand up when the spiral begins. Walk when the thoughts start circling. Do one small task when the pressure rises. Take one step when the fear gets loud. You don't need courage. You need discipline. You don't need motivation. You need movement. It's not about fear. It's about discipline. Your life changes the moment you understand this simple truth. You don't think your way into action. You act your way into clarity, confidence, and calm. And now that you understand how action breaks anxiety, it's time to face the next lesson. You've learned how to interrupt fear. Now you must learn how to take back control of your inner world. Chapter 5. Feelings lie. Facts don't. Your emotions are loud. They shout. They exaggerate. They pull you into stories that feel real but fall apart the moment you look at the facts. That is why you must learn this truth. Feelings lie. Facts don't. Emotion is not evidence. That's the key. You wake up one morning and feel like you're behind in life. You feel like you're failing. You feel like everyone else is ahead of you. But what are the facts? The fact is you woke up today. The fact is you're still breathing. The fact is you still have time to change. The feeling is loud, but the facts are solid. The facts don't move. The facts don't panic. That is your power. You have a choice. You can follow your feelings into chaos, or you can stand on facts and move forward with discipline. Everyday emotions trigger false alarms. You feel guilty even when you did nothing wrong. You feel scared even when nothing dangerous is happening. You feel unworthy even when you've built real progress in your life. Emotion isn't evidence. Emotion is a reaction, not a verdict. But most people treat their emotions like law. They follow the feeling as if it's the truth. You don't need their permission to rise above that. You don't need your feelings' permission either. You have to understand the difference between a signal and a story. A signal is a quick alert. Something needs attention. A story is the narrative your mind builds around that alert. The feeling is the signal. The story is the lie your anxiety attaches to it. For example, you feel tired. That's the signal. You tell yourself you're weak. That's the story. You feel nervous before a task. That's the signal. You tell yourself you're not good enough. That's the story. You feel lonely for a moment. That's the signal. You tell yourself no one cares about you. That's the story. You must break the story. You must return to the facts. That's discipline. It's not about feeling confident. It's about acting with clarity. It's not about eliminating fear. It's about questioning it. It's not about chasing motivation. It's about choosing truth. You have a choice. Every day, every hour, every moment when emotion tries to drag you into a false world. Your feelings are not your enemy, but they are not your master. They can guide you, but they cannot lead you. Only facts can lead you. So here's your first rule: slow down the story. When your emotions rise, stop and ask, what do I actually know right now? Not what you fear. Not what you imagine. Not what you assume. What you know. Facts shrink anxiety. Facts cut through noise. Facts bring you back to earth. Think of the last time you felt guilty. Maybe you said no to someone. You felt like you were selfish. You felt like you didn't do enough. But look at the facts. You have limits. You have needs. You cannot say yes to everything. The guilt was a lie. The facts were simple. You set a boundary, and that's what a disciplined person does. Or think of the last time you felt scared about the future. You felt like everything was falling apart. You felt like you were running out of time. But look at the facts. You've survived every challenge so far. You've adapted. You've grown. You're still here. The fear was a false alarm. Emotion isn't evidence. You must separate the two. That separation is freedom. That separation gives you control of your life again. Here's the second rule: check your body before you check your thoughts. Much of what you call emotion is simply tension in your body. Your heart rate increases, and suddenly you think something is wrong. Your stomach tightens, and suddenly you think you're in danger. Your shoulders feel heavy, and suddenly you think you're failing. But tension isn't truth. Sensation isn't reality. Emotion isn't evidence. Your body reacts before your mind understands. This means your feelings often interpret physical tension as a threat. That's why you must learn to look at the facts first. Ask yourself, is the danger real or is it just discomfort? Most of the time, it's discomfort, not danger. And you have the discipline to handle discomfort. Here's the third rule: don't argue with emotion, outsmart it. Instead of fighting the feeling, observe it. Describe it. Name it. Neutral language defeats emotional lies because it pulls the brain out of the drama. Say, I feel fear rising. Say, I feel guilt trying to pull me in. Say, I feel doubt passing through. When you name the emotion, you stop becoming the emotion. That's the key. You break the spell. You return to the facts. Fourth rule: lean on proof, not panic. Make a list, yes, an actual list, of things you've overcome. Challenges you survived. Skills you've built. Mistakes you fixed. Moments you proved yourself stronger than your fears. Your mind will forget these wins. Your emotions will ignore them entirely. But facts protect you from lies. Facts remind you who you are. Facts give you a foundation. Because here's the truth. Your feelings make problems look bigger. Facts show you the real size. Your feelings make you think you're alone. Facts show you the support you've built. Your feelings make you think you can't change. Facts show you how far you've already come. You have a choice. You can base your life on emotional weather, or you can build it on solid ground. Let me give you one more example. You walk into a room and feel like everyone is judging you. You feel exposed. You feel small. Now check the facts. No one actually said anything. No one pointed. No one attacked you. The feeling lied. The facts didn't. Or this: you feel unprepared for a goal. You feel like you're not ready. Check the facts. You've studied. You've practiced. You've tried. You've improved. The feeling is fear. The fact is progress. Emotion isn't evidence. Remember that every single day. It's not about eliminating emotions. It's about using discipline to interpret them. And this is where the transformation truly begins. When you stop letting emotions decide your reality, you reclaim your power. When you stop treating every feeling like a command, you regain clarity. When you learn to trust facts over fear, your entire life changes. You're building a stronger mind, not a softer one. You're building discipline, not dependence. You're learning to act based on truth, not noise. You master the lies your feelings tell you. Now, let's move to the next level. Chapter 6. Your choices are simpler than you think. You've been lied to. You've been told your decisions are complicated. You've been told you need more time, more clarity, more certainty. But the truth is much simpler. Your choices are simple. Always simpler than you think. Overthinking thrives on one thing: complexity. You create 5 scenarios, then 10, then 20. You build layers of doubt. You build arguments against yourself. You add fear, emotion, hesitation, and imaginary problems that never existed. And all of that noise makes you feel like the decision is impossible. But it isn't. You made it complicated. And you can make it simple again. This chapter is about killing the chaos. This chapter is about stripping your choices down to their real form. No excuses. No stories. No mental gymnastics. Just reality. Just responsibility. Just discipline. Because simplicity is power. And complexity is self-sabotage. You have a choice. And that's the key. Let's start with the real problem. You're addicted to complexity. Yes, addicted. Because complexity gives you something to hide behind. When you say, I need to think about it, what you really mean is, I'm scared. When you say, I'm still weighing my options, what you really mean is, I don't trust myself. When you say, I'm not sure yet, what you really mean is, I'm avoiding the responsibility of choosing. That's complexity addiction. A habit of building extra steps that don't matter. A habit of making a simple action feel heavy and impossible. A habit of drowning your mind in imaginary difficulty so you don't have to move. But here's the truth. Most decisions in your life come down to 2 simple moves. Do it now. or schedule it. That's the two-choice rule. And once you adopt it, your entire life changes. Think about your day. Think about all the things you've avoided. Things that take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Things that could be done before your coffee cools. Yet they sit there, collecting stress. Not because they are hard, but because you've convinced yourself they require a special mood, a special moment, or a special burst of motivation. That's nonsense. That's complexity. That's the old you. Now, you're going to see the truth. Every small task is either a now task or a scheduled task. No, maybe later. No, I'll see. No, I'll try. Those are lies. Those are escape doors for procrastinators. You don't need them. You have a choice. And again, that's the key. Let's walk through an example. You need to send an email. A simple email. But you delay it. You think about the wording. You worry about the reaction. You tell yourself you need more time. And suddenly a task that takes 90 seconds eats your whole day. Why? Because you added layers. You added stories. You added fear. You created complexity out of thin air. Now let's use the two-choice rule. Do it now. Or schedule it. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. If it takes more, schedule it with a real time on your calendar. Not a vague promise. A real slot. And once it's on the calendar, you don't think about it again. Because that's the rule. Simplify or suffer. Another example. You want to go to the gym. But instead of going, you start asking questions that don't matter. How tired am I? What if it's crowded? What if I don't have the energy? What if I don't get a good workout today? What if I start tomorrow instead? That's complexity addiction. That's you building a mental wall brick by brick. That's you choosing paralysis. The two-choice rule again. Go now. Or schedule the exact time you will go. No, maybe tonight. No, probably later. No, I'll see how I feel. Your feelings lie. Your excuses lie. But your calendar doesn't. It holds you accountable. When you simplify the decision, you remove all emotional noise. You remove all the imaginary obstacles. You remove the confusion that never should have existed in the first place. Because the choice was always simple. You just made it complicated. Here's why this works. The mind loves clarity. The mind loves structure. The mind loves boundaries. But when you drown it in endless options, you trigger fear. When you let your mind run wild with what-ifs, you trigger doubt. When you create a dozen imaginary scenarios, you trigger paralysis. You aren't overwhelmed because the task is big. You're overwhelmed because you're adding weight to it. Your thoughts aren't the problem. Your lack of discipline is the problem. And you know what you need. Simplify or suffer. Say it again. Simplify or suffer. Because that's what it comes down to. Life becomes harder when you refuse to make it simple. Life becomes heavier when you add layers that don't belong there. Life becomes stressful when you refuse to choose. And here's the truth. You don't need more time. You don't need more clarity. You don't need more motivation. You don't need their permission. You need discipline. You need a rule that eliminates hesitation. You need a system that blocks overthinking before it starts. You need the two-choice rule. Do it now. Or schedule it. Nothing in between. And this isn't just for tasks. This is for your life. This is for your goals. This is for your identity. You want to start a business? Do it now. Or schedule the next action. You want to fix your health? Do it now. Or schedule the next habit. You want to change your life? Do it now. Or schedule the step. That's it. That's the system. Simple. Clean. Uncomplicated. Because your choices are simpler than you think. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner your life stops feeling chaotic. Remember this. Complication is the enemy. Simplicity is the weapon. Discipline is the path. And you have a choice. Always. And that's the key. You're finally seeing the truth. Your life gets easier when your decisions get simpler. Now that you understand simplicity, it's time to understand something deeper. You're not fighting procrastination. You're fighting the voice inside you that wants comfort at any cost. You've simplified your choices. Now, you must learn how to master your time. Let's move forward. Chapter 7. Stay here. The power of the present moment. Your mind loves to run. It runs backward into the past. It runs forward into the future. It runs everywhere except the one place where your life actually happens, right now. Overthinking is time travel. You replay old mistakes. You imagine future disasters. You build stories in your head that have nothing to do with what's in front of you. And every time your mind leaves the present moment, you lose power. You lose clarity. You lose strength. Because you can't control yesterday. And you can't control tomorrow. But you can control right now. And that's the key. When your mind spirals, it's almost always because you're not here. You're somewhere else. You're stuck in old memories, or stuck in imaginary futures. You're not dealing with the moment you're actually living in. But life only changes in the present. Decisions only happen in the present. Action only exists in the present. Discipline only lives in the present. So if you want to stop overthinking, you have to learn to stay here. Not yesterday. Not tomorrow. Here. Now. This moment. Because now is your power. Let's break this down. When you're stuck in the past, you're replaying losses. You're replaying embarrassment. You're replaying failure. You're holding yourself hostage to moments that are gone forever. You can't edit the past. You can't negotiate with it. You can't rewrite it. The past is locked. The past is done. And every second you invest in reliving it steals power from your present. You have a choice. Stay in the pain. Or step into your power. That's the key. Then there's the future. The place where overthinkers love to drown. What if it goes wrong? What if I can't handle it? What if I'm not good enough? What if they judge me? The future becomes a horror movie in your mind. And you're the director, the writer, and the main actor, all at the same time. But here's the hard truth. None of those what-ifs exist. Not one of them. They're smoke. They're imagination. They're fear wrapped in fiction. And yet people build their entire lives around these ghost stories. They freeze. They stall. They hide. They suffocate under pressure that isn't even real. Because they forgot the truth. Now is your power. The present moment is the only place where your decisions matter. Think about it. You can't lose weight yesterday. You can't get stronger tomorrow. You can't fix your finances next month. You can't build discipline next year. You only grow when you act right now. And when you anchor yourself in the present, something incredible happens. Your mind quiets. Your fear weakens. Your path becomes clear. Because the present moment removes all the noise. No more what if. No more should have. No more imaginary problems. Just reality. Just action. Just discipline. And that's where your strength lives. Let's talk about grounding. Small habits that pull you out of overthinking and into the present. The first grounding habit is simple, a breath. One deep breath. Slow inhale. Long exhale. A breath interrupts the spiral. A breath pulls you back into your body. A breath tells your mind, stop running. Stay here. It sounds small, but it's powerful. Because you can't panic and breathe deeply at the same time. You can't overthink and stay grounded in your breath at the same time. You can't be in 3 different mental worlds when your attention is locked onto one inhale. A breath is a reset button. Use it. Use it every time your mind tries to escape into fear or regret. Because now is your power. The second grounding habit is even simpler, a task. One task. One step. One small action. When your mind starts to spin, don't fight the thoughts. Don't negotiate. Don't argue. Just move. Wash a dish. Send an email. Fold a shirt. Stand up. Drink water. Anything that brings you back into the world in front of you. Because action pulls you out of your head and into your life. And as you learned earlier, the mind can't spiral and move forward at the same time. So a task is not just something you do. It's something you use. It's a weapon. A weapon against the chaos in your head. You have a choice. Stay in the spiral. Or take the step. That's the key. The third grounding habit, A single moment. Look at something real. Feel something with your hands. Notice what's around you. You'd be surprised how quickly this breaks overthinking. Because the mind can't obsess over imaginary problems while focusing on a real object. You're forcing your brain to come home. Back to now. Touch the table. Feel the chair beneath you. Notice the air on your skin. Hear the sounds around you. These are anchors. They pull you away from fear and into reality. And reality is always less scary than the stories you invent. Because emotion isn't evidence. Fear isn't fact. Overthinking isn't destiny. It's a habit. And you can break it by returning to the present. Now is your power. Once you learn to stay in the moment, something changes. You stop hesitating. You stop doubting. You stop replaying old failures. You begin to move with clarity. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop carrying the weight of past and future on your back. You start making decisions with confidence. Because you're no longer lost in imaginary timelines. You start acting faster. Because you're not waiting for the perfect future moment that doesn't exist. You start trusting yourself. Because you're dealing with reality, not fear. And you start realizing you don't need their permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need more time. You need presence. You need discipline. You need the courage to stay here. Because now is your power. Always. And it always has been. You've learned to stay in the present. Now you need to learn how to guard your mind from the damage you create when you let emotion take control. You've grounded yourself. Now let's talk about the thoughts you allow to live in your head. Chapter 8. Build the identity of a doer, not a worrier. You've been told your whole life to believe in yourself. That sounds nice. It also doesn't work. You don't believe yourself into a new identity. You act yourself into one. That's the key. You have a choice every single day. Strengthen the identity that keeps you stuck, or strengthen the identity that pulls you forward. You are building one of them with every action, every hesitation, every response to discomfort. Here's the truth you've been avoiding. You don't procrastinate because you're lazy. You procrastinate because your identity is built on hesitation. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," you teach your brain that you are a person who delays. Every time you overthink, you confirm that you're someone who doubts. Every time you avoid the hard thing, you reinforce an identity of fear. Identity is not a title. Identity is repeated behavior. Identity is what you do, not what you say. That's the key. You want to stop being a worrier? Act like a doer, before you feel ready. You have a choice. And this chapter is about making that choice unavoidable. Think of your identity as a mirror you polish every day. You can polish it with clarity, or you can smear it with hesitation. Most people smear it. They tell themselves stories. I'm not disciplined. I'm just anxious. I've always been like this. Those stories stick because the daily actions support them. A worrier worries. A procrastinator waits. A self-doubter hesitates. You don't need their permission to change that. You just need to interrupt the pattern that built those labels in the first place. You're not fighting your brain. You're fighting your habits. You're fighting your training. And right now, you've been training the identity of a worrier for years. But the good news is simple: identity can be rebuilt. One action at a time. People think identity change requires huge transformations. That's the lie. Your identity is shaped by the small things, the tiny decisions that happen so fast you barely notice them. Those moments matter more than the big ones. When you make your bed, you reinforce the identity of someone who finishes things. When you answer one email, you reinforce the identity of someone who takes action. When you take a 2-minute walk, you reinforce the identity of someone who takes care of their health. It's not about the size of the action. It's about the direction. It's about discipline, not drama. That's the key. Worriers rehearse failure. Doers rehearse action. Worriers ask, what if it goes wrong? Doers ask, what can I control right now? Worriers freeze. Doers move. And every tiny movement writes a new chapter in who you believe you are. You've probably noticed something. The longer you wait, the harder everything becomes. The longer you think about the task, the heavier it gets. The longer you avoid, the louder your fear becomes. That's not an accident. Hesitation is fuel for fear. Action is the antidote. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. You don't need their permission. You don't need more research. You don't need another motivational video. You just need to act, even if the action is tiny. Start the draft. Open the document. Wash the dish. Put on the shoes. Make the call. Small moves, done consistently, destroy fear's power over your identity. Every time you move, fear shrinks. Every time you stall, fear grows. Which one do you want feeding you? You have a choice. This is the heart of the chapter. The identity you want already exists, inside your choices, inside your behavior, inside your standards. You want to become disciplined? Act like a disciplined person today. Not tomorrow. Not when motivation comes. Now. A disciplined person does things they don't feel like doing. A doer starts before the mind screams excuses. A confident person takes the step even when they're unsure. You aren't becoming this version of yourself someday. You become them the moment you imitate them. That's the key. Ask yourself this simple question every morning. What would the person I want to be do right now? Then do that. Even if it's uncomfortable. Especially if it's uncomfortable. Your future self is built on the actions your current self takes. Act like the person you want to become, and soon, you won't be acting anymore. You'll be living it. Most people think the major turning points define their life. They don't. It's the micro decisions, the ones you think don't matter. You choose your identity in milliseconds, and you don't even realize it. When you wake up and stay in bed for 5 more minutes, that's identity. When you walk past a mess instead of cleaning it, that's identity. When you say, "I'll start tomorrow," that's identity. Your identity is shaped by these tiny moments because they repeat. Regularly. Quietly. Powerfully. So here's your new rule. Win the small decisions. They build the big life. You don't need to fix everything in one day. You just need to stop training yourself to lose. Every small win tells your brain, this is who we are now. That's the key. The identity of a doer is shaped through repetition, just like the identity of a worrier was. You've spent years seeing yourself a certain way. Maybe you think of yourself as slow, indecisive, scared, inconsistent. And maybe that identity has felt permanent. But it never was. You built that self-image through action, and you can tear it down the same way. Identity is not destiny. Identity is practice. You can build a new practice. You have a choice. Start telling yourself a new story, not with words, but with behavior. Doers don't talk about effort. They show effort. Doers don't wait for courage. They act into courage. Doers don't let fear speak louder than progress. Act like the person you want to become, again and again and again, until the old identity has nothing left to hold on to. Stop searching for yourself. Start building yourself. You don't discover who you are, you choose who you are. Every action is a brick. Every decision is a nail. Every step forward is another piece of the identity you say you want. You have a choice. You can keep polishing the old identity of fear, hesitation, and worry. Or you can build a new one action at a time, one moment at a time, one disciplined decision at a time. You already know the rule that drives this chapter. Act like the person you want to become. That's the key. And now that you understand identity, it's time to understand the next force that shapes your life more than motivation ever could. Chapter 9. Focus is a weapon. Use it. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your focus. That's the key. You can't build discipline with a scattered mind. You can't build momentum when your attention is split into 100 tiny pieces. You have a choice: guard your focus like a weapon, or let the world steal it from you one distraction at a time. Everything in your life grows based on what you feed with attention. Focus on fear, and you grow fear. Focus on problems, and you grow problems. Focus on progress, and you grow progress. This isn't philosophy. This is the architecture of your mind. What you stare at shapes you. What you give energy to becomes your emotional home. Your attention is the most powerful tool you have, and most people give it away for free. They give it to drama. They give it to gossip. They give it to worry, self-doubt, and every meaningless digital spark that flashes in front of their eyes. You are not bad at focusing. You are undisciplined with your attention. And it's not about natural talent, it's about discipline. That's the key. You have a choice. Protect your focus, or live a life controlled by whoever distracts you first. Most people don't understand this. They think emotions appear out of nowhere. They don't. Emotions are reactions to attention. What you focus on decides how you feel. You stare at threats. You feel anxious. You stare at mistakes. You feel ashamed. You stare at progress. You feel powerful. Your emotional life is not random. It's created, constructed, reinforced. Take a moment and think about what you focused on this morning. Did you focus on what you need to do? Or did you focus on what might go wrong? Did you focus on discipline? Or did you focus on excuses? Every choice built the emotional state you walked into today with. The worrier focuses on what could fail. The doer focuses on what can be done. The worrier focuses on noise. The doer focuses on direction. The worrier protects their fear. The doer protects their focus. You don't need their permission to shift your attention. You just need to decide where you aim your mind. That's the key. Focus is a weapon. Use it. Let that become your new mantra. Imagine your attention as a doorway. What you allow through that doorway decides the quality of your life. Let in chaos. You get chaos. Let in negativity. You get negativity. Let in discipline. You get results. The problem is simple. You've been leaving the door wide open. Anyone or anything can walk in. Notifications. Social media. Negative people. Old fears. New worries. Things that don't matter and never will. But here's the truth. You can close the door. You can guard the doorway. You can protect your focus, and by doing so, protect your life. You have a choice. It's time to perform a focus audit. This is where you reclaim your mind. No excuses. No soft language. A focus audit forces you to face what's been stealing your attention and your future. Take out a sheet of paper. Draw 2 columns. On the left, right, where my focus actually goes. On the right, where my focus should go. Now be brutally honest. List everything on the left. Scrolling. Checking your phone. Arguing with people online. Thinking about things you can't control. Replaying conversations from years ago. Worrying about people who don't worry about you. Starting tasks but never finishing them. Jumping from distraction to distraction. This list might hurt. Good. That means you're seeing the truth. You have a choice to stop feeding things that weaken you. Now move to the right side, where your focus should go. Tasks that matter. Habits that build discipline. Actions that move your goals forward. People who lift you. Work that strengthens your identity as a doer. A vision you can actually build. This simple audit will show you something life-changing. Your life is not ruined. Your life is unfocused. And you can fix that. Starting today. Once you complete the focus audit, you'll notice something important. A lot of what steals your attention doesn't deserve a single second of your life. It contributes nothing. It builds nothing. It pulls you backward. You know what to do with those things. Cut them. Reduce them. Eliminate them. You don't need their permission. This is not about being harsh. This is about being disciplined. You can't win if you leave thieves in your house. You can't grow if you leak energy every minute. You can't build a strong mind if your focus is scattered. Focus is a weapon. Use it. Aim it. Guard it. Protect it. That's the key. Start by removing the things that distract you in your first hour of the day. Then remove the distractions that show up during work. Then remove the distractions that poison your evenings. Piece by piece, you'll build a life where your attention belongs to you again. You keep trying to rely on willpower, and that's why you fail. Willpower is unreliable. Structure is better. Structure removes choices. Structure removes confusion. Structure protects your focus automatically. Here's what structure looks like. Turn off non-essential notifications. Limit social media to specific windows. Put your phone in another room when working. Work in timed blocks with clear goals. Reduce your open tabs to one task at a time. Keep your to-do list short and specific. Why does this work? Because structure forces discipline even when you don't feel like being disciplined. It removes friction. It removes temptation. It removes chaos. And in a world built to steal your attention, structure is survival. You have a choice: build a structure that supports your focus, or live inside a structure built to distract you. Look around your current life. Everything you have today came from what you focused on yesterday. And everything you'll create tomorrow will come from what you focus on today. Your focus is the steering wheel of your life. If you don't control it, someone else will. That's the key. Protect your focus. Protect your life. Say it to yourself until it becomes instinct. And now that you've learned to guard the most powerful tool you possess, it's time to talk about something just as important: the driving action behind every breakthrough you'll ever have. Chapter 10. Peace is earned through discipline. Peace is not something you hope for. Peace is not something you wait for. Peace is something you build. That's the key. Most people think peace is the result of comfort: more rest, fewer problems, less pressure. But real peace does not come from comfort. Real peace comes from discipline, from structure, from steady habits that make your mind predictable, strong, and sharp. You have a choice. You can chase comfort and stay anxious, or you can build discipline and earn peace. Peace is built. Peace is earned. Not imagined, not wished for, not prayed into existence. You build it with your daily decisions. You earn it with the habits you repeat when no one is watching. You shape it through the structure you force into your life, even when your feelings disagree. Most people want peace without discipline. They want calm without order. They want clarity without routine. They want results without structure. It doesn't work that way. It has never worked that way. You don't need their permission to build a life that supports your mind. But you do need discipline. And that's the key. Think about the times in your life when you felt the most stressed. 9 times out of 10, the stress wasn't coming from a big crisis. It came from disorder, from unclear days, from waking up with no plan, from going to bed with unfinished tasks, from a mind stuck in the fog of "I'll do it later." Comfort creates chaos. It tricks you into avoiding decisions, avoiding structure, avoiding the simple rules that make life easier. You tell yourself you need a break. You tell yourself you'll figure it out later. You tell yourself you'll see how the day goes. And all of that sounds gentle, but it leads straight to anxiety. Peace comes from knowing what you'll do next. Peace comes from knowing what you're building. Peace comes from disciplined choices, not emotional ones. You have a choice. Stop choosing chaos. You don't need a complicated system to build peace. You need small routines that anchor your day. The kind of routines that eliminate confusion, wipe out indecision, and keep your life aligned. Here are the 3 routines that build real peace. 1. Morning clarity. Your morning sets the tone for everything. If your morning is messy, your mind is messy. If your morning is not guided by discipline, your day is guided by emotion. Morning clarity means this: before the world speaks to you, you speak to yourself. Before the noise enters, you control the signal. Here's what morning clarity looks like. A 1 minute of breathing to center yourself. A 1 clear intention for the day. A 1 task that must be completed no matter what. A 1 moment of stillness before you touch your phone. This is simple. This is small. This is powerful. It eliminates early confusion. It cuts off anxiety before it grows. It gives you direction before distractions arrive. And it forces your mind to focus. That's the key. Peace is built. Peace is earned. And your morning is where you begin earning it. 2. Evening shutdown. Most people ruin their peace at night. They go to bed with open loops, unfinished tasks, and a mind full of noise. They carry the weight of the day into their sleep. They expect rest, yet they bring chaos into the bedroom. An evening shutdown solves this. Here's the rule. You don't end the day until the day is put away. Your evening shutdown should include writing down tomorrow's top 3 tasks, clearing your workspace or environment, a reviewing what you completed, accepting what you didn't finish, without guilt, a shutting off screens, noise, and stimulation early. This is not about perfection. It's about closure. Your mind needs closure. When you give your mind closure, your nervous system relaxes. You sleep better. You wake up clearer. You reduce anxiety because you create order. That's the key. Peace is earned, especially at night. 3. Daily evaluation. Peace comes from honesty. Not excuses. Not stories. Not feelings. You earn peace by reviewing your day with discipline. A daily evaluation is not a punishment. It is a calibration. It's the moment you pull yourself back into alignment before small problems become big ones. Here's what a daily evaluation sounds like. What did I do well today? What distracted me? What did I avoid? What can I improve tomorrow? What is one disciplined action I will commit to? These 5 questions change your life. They turn random days into intentional days. They turn weak minds into strong minds. They remind you that every choice today builds your peace tomorrow. This is discipline. This is order. This is how you earn a quiet mind. Most people think peace comes from things: more money, more comfort, fewer problems, fewer responsibilities. But that's an illusion. Peace does not come from things. Peace comes from identity. You don't wait for peace. You become the kind of person who lives in peace. You build the identity of someone who handles life instead of avoiding it. You build the identity of someone who sticks to routines instead of letting emotions lead. You build the identity of someone who chooses discipline over chaos. Every time you choose discipline, you earn a little more peace. Every time you choose structure, you earn a little more control. Every time you choose routine, you earn a little more clarity. Peace is built. Peace is earned. Say it until you believe it. You have a choice. You can keep chasing comfort and living in anxiety, or you can build discipline and live in peace. That's the key. You cannot earn peace if you let everyone and everything pull at your time, your energy, and your mind. Discipline is not just about what you do. It's also about what you refuse to allow. Protect your time. Protect your energy. Protect your mind. Protect your routines. Protect your boundaries. You don't need their permission to say no. You don't need their permission to step back. You don't need their permission to choose your mental health. Peace is earned through disciplined boundaries, not through guilt-driven people-pleasing. When your habits are steady, your mind becomes steady. When your structure is clear, your emotions settle. When your routines are predictable, your nervous system relaxes. Predictability is not boring. Predictability is freedom. Predictability is peace. Most chaos is self-created. Most stress is self-created. Most anxiety is self-created. And most of it can be eliminated with discipline. Your routines decide whether your mind is calm or chaotic. Your structure decides whether your life feels heavy or light. Your habits decide whether you sleep with clarity or confusion. Peace is built. Peace is earned. You've spent years letting your mind run the show. Years letting fear speak louder than clarity. Years drowning in thoughts that never moved your life forward. But now you know the truth. Overthinking isn't who you are. It's just a habit. And every habit can be broken. You have the 7 steps. You have the tools. You know what to do. Stop feeding fear. Stop chasing perfect answers. Stop living everywhere except the present moment. Act. Decide. Move. Discipline is your doorway back to peace. Clarity comes from action. Strength comes from choice. Your mind is no longer the enemy, it's a tool you control. So here's your challenge. Start today. Start now. And if you're ready for the next level of growth, subscribe and keep going. Your transformation is in motion. Don't stop.